Hey guys, welcome to the verse of the week. Today we're in Proverbs 17:3, and it says, "The crucible tests the silver, the furnace tests the gold, but the one who tests the heart is the Lord." There's other scriptures that talk about how the Lord refines us. We're being refined by the fire. There's scriptures that say, "I am the vine, you are the branches. Apart from me, you can't do nothing." Romans 12 talks about how we are to be not conformed to the world's patterns, but be transformed by the renewing of our mind. And but just kind of mulling through all those verses. And the other day I was talking with somebody, and we were talking about how I have this sneaky suspicion that sometimes what the Lord does is that He will remove His hand in certain circumstances. So let's say you're going about your day, and there's a test of your patience. Let's say you're going out through your day and there's a test of how you respond. Do you respond in love? Do you respond in hate? Do you respond with anger? Do you respond with emotion? That kind of thing. How do you respond? Sometimes there's days that we go through battles, there's days that we go through storms, and it feels like the Lord isn't there, even though He is there, but it feels like He's not there. And so I have this sort of sneaky suspicion that sometimes the Lord removes Himself enough that we can't feel His presence, even though He's there, but we can't feel His presence. And that's a time for Him to test us. It's a time for Him to allow just things to come into our lives that test our patience, test our responses, test how we love, how we give love, how we, are we a light? Are we shining bright for a community of people that might not be able to see love? They might not be experiencing love in their life. They might not be experiencing hope. Are we doing that regardless of the circumstances? Sometimes it's easy when the going is easy, but when the going gets tough, it's kind of hard to be loving. It's kind of hard to not respond in anger. It's kind of hard to not respond in, those things. So I think the Lord, sometimes He leads us into good times and shows us things, but then when it seems like the dark times, sometimes it's a time of discipline. And I think it's the Lord. Discipline meaning that we are becoming more and more disciplined in our actions and our thoughts, and in the way that we handle ourselves. Are we eating of the fruit of patience? Are we eating of the fruit of love and peace and self-control and gentleness? Those things that are of the Spirit, Galatians 5:22. Or are we eating of the fruits of this world? Are we eating the fruits of anger and bitterness? And are we allowing those things to take heart in us? So when the Bible says the crucible tests the silver, the furnace tests the gold, but the Lord tests the heart, we're being refined by the fire. And I think, to me, that's super, super encouraging. And I know that there are times when we have the battles, and I know there are times when someone will be like, "Lord, why do I have to feel like I don't feel you? Why do I have to feel like you're not here? Why do I have to feel like I'm all alone? Why do I have to feel like I'm isolated? Why do I have to feel like I'm going through some really rough stuff?" But knowing that at the end of that tunnel, there's light, knowing that there is an end to that tunnel, knowing that that there's something for me on the other side, there's a blessing that follows. And I think that's the truth about who God is in our lives, in our daily lives, that when we don't feel His presence, that He still is there, but He is kind of taking a step back. It's kind of like, I don't know if you remember the first time that you ever rode without training wheels, rode a bike without training wheels, and you had your parents holding on, or somebody was holding on to you as you were riding your bike, and then all of a sudden they just sort of let go. And I think that sometimes that's what happens, is it's like we're on a bicycle and we don't have the training wheels, and all of a sudden, one minute we know that He's there, but then the next minute He's let go, just to see if we can ride. But also sometimes I think it's to know that we really can't do anything without Him. We can't be that loving person without His Spirit. But we should always seek to have His Spirit in us. We should always seek to have His Spirit guiding us. And we're not perfect by any means, but we should always be seeking to hear His voice. We should always be seeking to have His presence with us. And sometimes I think that's what it's all about too, that we long for that. Because that was the thing in the Garden of Eden, is that when they ate of the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, they were separating themselves from God, and so they were separating themselves from life. And I pray that we would always realize that in God there is life, in Jesus there is life. So maybe take that with you, and I hope that this verse is good for your soul. I pray that it's good for your week, what things maybe you're going through this week. I just pray that you find comfort in the fact that God is there, even though if you don't feel like it, He is there, and He's got some blessing on the other side of this trial that you're going through. I love you. I hope to see you Sunday. We're going to talk about ministry. It's going to be called Ministering to Jesus, and it sounds kind of like, well, Jesus doesn't need ministered to, but we're going to talk about what that means, and read up on Matthew 4 and 1 through 11, and I hope to see you there at 9:30. If I can't see you there, we'll see you online at YouTube or Facebook. Love you. Hope you have a good weekend.